Hello to everyone. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming. My name is Mikhail. I am from Gearbox Protocol. I am co-founder and CTO. And today I want to talk a speech regarding the protocol, because what we really evidence now, what we can see in the market and everywhere, it's a big shift related to things and how the focus change from the protocols to end product. And in this speech, I want to explain our movement and understanding how to make a better app, how to really attract users, and what we did to make a real Rollup-centric application. So as we can see, many years I heard a lot of different stuff regarding mass adoption. People talked a lot that when new people came to the market, all protocols, all DeFi will grow. And maybe we take a wrong turn, but now, as you can see, a lot of retail users unfortunately came to Solana. We have some lack of smart money, etc. But by the way, there are two significant shifts in perception. Users are not willing to go deeper in your technology. They are not interested to really learn a lot of complexity, stuff like bridges, etc. Each stuff could be simplified as much as we can. And on our brainstorm, we asked ourselves what we can do to make lending even simpler. How lending could be simplified to really make very good, very smooth experience for end users. And the idea is to make something which happened in Web 2. So previously, as you know, to get any credit, you should sign a contract, and it was an overcomplicated process. But everything was changed with invention of credit card. And in our perception, we can really make lending very, very simple, useful, and understandable experience like in Web 2, if we can really distinguish all accounts on Ethereum between two possible ways. Debit accounts, what we have now today, it's EOA, it's account abstraction, it's like safe wallet, doesn't matter, and credit account. Accounts when you can really borrow money against asset on it. And it was like an innovation in Gearbox in 2021, and we are continuously moving forward. And the core idea is to build a lending protocol based on account abstraction hooks. So how it works in a few words. The first part, when user interact with wallet, we can really store somewhere that there is some debt or not. And to make it possible, in comparison with normal lending protocol, which gets some asset as a collateral and give you another asset, the logic here works in a different way. We just have a hook which should be executed all time when user interact with its account. And if it gets executed after each operation, we can really be ensured that there is enough money to pay the collateral debt back. And in this case, all assets on this account, as you can see on my example, it's one ETH, it's 1,000 USDC, and 1/10 of BTC are still liquid. So you can use it across multiple protocols. You can put ETH into LRT, you can put USDC into farm, do whatever you want. It's totally free. There is only one limitation. After your operation, we should be ensured that it's enough money to pay the debt back. Very simple logic, and it works similarly to credit card because there is no special interfaces. You can use this solution across multiple protocols. If you have more money, you can buy something like NFTs, pay for conferences everywhere. Very simple rule, but to make it really useful across multiple chains, because today users say, hey guys, it's pretty good to have a protocol, but I am not interested to learn about networks you provide, etc. I want the similar use, like you have a Visa. It doesn't matter who issue your card, which bank, it accepted everywhere. And if you go here, yeah, it's like one of transaction example for people who are tech savvy. So literally, if you can see a batch, and we have a we have a multi-executions there. So we have a batch of approval and swap on Uniswap. And as you can see previously, we just keep in mind that there is one approval, then we execute batch as usual, and then we do all this check. And as I said, people are really not interested to over-complex products. Today we have a lot of DeFi applications, more designed for mass and tech-savvy users. And in this case, it could be like a magic. You have a debit credit, normal account like account abstraction, then in one click we set up hooks, and then you can use this money as previously, but then you can borrow against them. And it's create a good example. For example, you hold crypto, you believe that Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. will grow tomorrow. You can really borrow stable coins against them and spend in the grocery market if you connect a credit card. Pretty good example, good from taxation, good from UX, but users, as I already said, in mass adoption are not interesting, and they ask, what chains you deployed, how I can use it. So at this time, like we spent last half year, we make a transformation to become a real lending infrastructure. And this transformation called to move to Rollup Centric application, because as we can see now, the value from normal retail users move from Ethereum mainnet to multiple L2s like Base, now MegaEase is coming, some others who really attract real users, build a cool interfaces, but people easily pretty not interesting to go into details. To make this application and very clear logic for end users between debit account and credit account, not depending on any chain, we built a thing which is called Rollup Centric application. So the logic here is to have these four components. The first one, we want to be permissionless deploy on any network. If you tomorrow will decide to launch your Rollup, please welcome. You can really enable credit accounts on your chain in one click. No allowances, nothing to do there. Another part, it's an interconnected way of liquidity. All Ethereum L2 ecosystem suffers from liquidity fragmentation. It's a big, big problem. A lot of funds are on mainnet, but users on different L2s. And if you can find a way how we can interconnect things and make a really cross-chain lending protocol, it could be much, much easier. I will talk a little bit later. Then permissionless market management, when everyone can start their own markets and build from Gearbox Lego blocks any protocol or any financial primitive or organization, and chain abstraction. People should not really focus what chains they are. You go to application, you want to really maybe get a leverage for any asset, one click and it's done. And to make it possible, we built an architecture which built on a few components. So it's a quite unique things, and I think it's a good playbook for other protocols to become a Rollup centric. So on mainnet, we have a like basic knowledge base, and we store two things. The first part, it's an on-chain DAO decision. So each time when DAO votes for any decision, it's go to a cross-chain multi-sig. It's the way how we can really send the information about decision across multiple connected chains to everywhere. To achieve that, we really use signatures which could be verified here. And thanks for Create2 and deterministic deployment, we can check cryptographically which decision was made. For chains which have a better connection, we can use bridges, and it's also implemented at the moment. And these decisions comes to a really router on each chain which called instance manager. And this instance manager manages all decisions. But it's not like the things we built. We have another layers here, and we limit DAO possibilities to really be involved in any chain activity. So DAO itself could only add some things regarding to fees. They could really add some code and updates. But if you go a little bit further to make possible to deploy the protocol without any permissions on any chain and be ensured that there is no incorrect code, there is no really problems related to misconfiguration, etc., we built additional role which is called instance manager. But there are two steps we control each time. The first part is bytecode repository, as I mentioned. All contract which could be used in deployment or in a real usage should be signed by auditors. So really it's a good way because you can prove on-chain that the contract works correctly, it's not malicious. And as you know, previously it was a lot of hacks when people really fool end users providing a small change. You never can go to Etherscan and find that someone make a small change in a one formula. It's a pretty hard for mass adoption. Now you can be 1% ensured that you work with normal and authentic contract. Another part that each contract is protected by auditors, so you shouldn't go to GitHub to check the code, to compare, etc. We work with a big institutionals, and all time when they start to check Gearbox, they have an internal team. We check our contract. They say, okay, guys, give us our audits. We want to compare the code you deployed is what you audit, etc., etc. Here, it's done automatically. So really, one click, you deploy on new network, then risk curators could be done any setup permissionlessly, and every person, users, risk curators, and other managers could be 100% ensured that the code is correct. And it's created an open new market for external developers, which is quite good because it's no one interest model fits all problem. If you want to build any block, any additional plugin for Gearbox, like interest rate model, price feeds, maybe adapter, loss policy, it's up to you. The same logic, you should not ask DAO for permission to launch your code. Just got an audit, put it into the system, and it's enough. And it's create a very safe way how we can really develop and grow a protocol from the developer standpoint and make it safe at the same time. Because in Morpho, it was a lot of cases of misconfiguration when people lost around a few $1 million. Why? Because the code was picked in correct commit. Someone really make a misconfiguration, etc. In this case, we really provide a warranty for every people which could be checked on chain that the code which you use is really what you need. And as you can see, to achieve this, we really make a big work to mark all contracts. So any contract in the system has its unique this is a unique version and contract type. They are really provided into this bytecode repository, and there is no really error or mistake that you can deploy something incorrectly. And if you can see the whole system, you can see that the risk curator, the people who can build permissionlessly any market on Gearbox, could trust the system because market configurator, all core contracts are verified by auditors, any new model also verified, and price feeds, which is a price feed store, verified by instance manager. So we really provide a 100% warranty that all parameters, all things, all addresses are already verified. And it's create another way how you can begin business and grow the ecosystem, because a lot of things solved for you, and it's a very safe way. And if you really launch a network, maybe it could be a problem for you to attract new liquidity. Maybe you want to really add these credit accounts, etc. Sometimes it takes a lot of time when team could prepare all installation files, do this setup, etc. With Gearbox bytecode repository, it's done in one click, and really you should check everything on chain, which is a good and working solution. And the next part, which also comes from the logically from this way, if we can be deployed on any chain, how we can create even better experience for liquidity fragmentation, and it's called liquidity graph. As I said, we can set up different pools on multiple networks, And if we have a really proven code, we can really connect different pools with credit accounts and make a possibility for liquidity arbitrageurs or index rate arbitrageurs or yield arbitrageurs, what's the correct name, to move liquidity between different chains if it has an economic sense. For example, on this picture, you can see there are a few different rollups, A, B, C, and mainnet. And each rollup has a different interest rate. So it works like a gradient. When people on mainnet could borrow some liquidity and move it to rollup A to get a 2% more interest rate. And it's created this system which automatically moves liquidity across multiple interconnected chains to the rollup, which really provide better returns. And in terms of RAS perception, imagine you launch your network. And of course, it's more risky. But if you provide a good interest rate, which could be attractable for yield arbitrageurs, liquidity will move to your chain. So it's create a good market, and it's connected different part of rollups in the whole Ethereum ecosystem. And the next part, what I really believe we can build in this rollup architecture, is the way how we can manage risk. Today, it's a very complicated process. So now we work with the Chaos Labs, which is one of the best risk curator firms, and they do a lot of manual work. However, on chain, we have a lot of data which we can use to understand what's going on. And we can combine this data with things coming from social networks and create an AI, and it's also work, and we are working on it, which is called Geary, to really analyze the things happens across the whole L2 network, in Twitter, social networks, news, etc., to manage parameters. Today, a lot of protocols try to say, hey, we are going to build a system which could really manage all this stuff. I think on the current level of technology, it's a very ambitious task, but if we move a little bit further, we can at least create a second opinion which could be valuable. And the task we perceive as significant here, two things. The first part is to provide alerts when thing happens. Today, even these big risk firms has like, I don't know, maybe 5, 10 analysts who check what's going on. But with growing of L2 ecosystem, these events could be much, much more. And it's a very, very hard to be 24/7 to understand what's going on. If we build a system which analyzes all events happens across multiple chains, combining them with market news, DAO proposals, etc., and put it into block which calls chain intelligence, we can really have two benefits. The first one, we can alert or highlight potential problems. No one could really get a lot of information and analyze it significantly fast. But if the system could help risk curator to say, hey, these problems on this chain, this protocol potentially got hacked, or etc., it's create a good way to protect and make decision faster. And another part is simulation, when we can collect a lot of data, when we can really have some kind of previous and historical data, we can make a simulation based on things. What happened if I reduce LTV? How this change or event could affect the whole system? Because when we build a really big L2 interconnected system and have a lot of liquidity, some small change could really go to very bad consequences in terms of liquidation, liquidity shortage, etc. And if we can really simulate this stuff, if we can use AI to predict different solutions of any decision, it could also help users to really manage the whole ecosystem. Now Gearbox is deployed on 5 networks, but I believe, and it's doable task. When we talk about 1,000 rollups, it's a pretty hard to really manage and analyze everything. So I believe it's a very good first step to autonomous risk management. I do not talk that tomorrow we can build the system which can do it autonomously. But the whole picture is to have the way to manage this lending market and credit accounts, which is simply works as a credit card for end user, move liquidity automatically between the whole ecosystem to provide and deliver it to the place when it's needed more because the interest rate is higher, and make at least a second opinion for risk curators who can manage this big system. And now I definitely believe if we try today to attract much more users, today we have a free block space, and many people say, hey guys, it's a very, very simple to attract more users to Ethereum because, as you can see, multiple L2s, multiple opportunities to put more code, more protocols, etc. But ask yourself, what happens if the price will drop today significantly? It happened when, unfortunately, Ethereum price moved from 2,200 to, I think it was 1,800 a month ago or so, and the gas came to the peak volume like 100 Gwei. How many accounts we have today on Aave? 1,000 accounts? On Morpha? The same. So literally all lending markets has not enough many users, and even with a big price change, our system also gets stuck. Imagine if we have like 1 million positions, it's not enough capacity to produce all things like liquidations, exchanges, etc. in case of big price change. And we try to build a system which could really help to parallelize, to analyze the system and make things even faster. So in current market, I know maybe it's very optimistic to say, hey, when mass adoption will really be implemented, people will come and use the product. But I definitely believe that simplification and better UX could really attract more users, make the product better, and on backend side, we should build much more technology to support this movement. Thanks so much. Maybe some question.
Hello.
Hello?
For the agentic, the AI management, component of this, like, what is, like, how do you envision that model, and like who is going to be like responsible for it? It's like, in general, one of the things that I'm sort of critical of when it comes to AI as it pertains to these kinds of systems is that implicitly people don't really understand exactly how the AI is going to make certain decisions. And when it comes to regular consumer interactions with AI models, we generally refer to sort of unexpected responses as being hallucinations, which is kind of a naive way to describe those things because the AI model is only capable of producing things that it's trained on. And it's only our subjective interpretation of what it's doing that qualifies something as a hallucination. But with respect to that sort of behavior or that kind of unexpected behavior, how do you envision an AI model coming about that doesn't suffer from those kinds of things, or is at least able to justify the decisions that it's making in a sort of human, understandable way?
Thanks, it's a great question, and I think it's a good parallel with self-driving cars. For a long years, people do not trust and ask, and in some countries it is still the law that you should have a driver and the system, and the driver takes the responsibility to press brake in case of emergency. And what we really try to do is a second opinion, the system which could highlight some alerts, because the whole amount of information could not be analyzed even now. We have so many networks today. The second part, I also believe it should be some kind of limits which we also use in many times in Gearbox. So you can allow the system to maybe change LTV or any risk parameter for not more than 2%. So it's like a small change which could be done continuously, and if you combine with alerts, it's create a semi-management, because the system could really make small changes automatically and just report you. But in terms of alert or very significant decision, of course, people could double check at least that the problem exists or something happens. Unfortunately, it's a very difficult part, because even if you go to current financial organization and check and read all the things there is also like a lack of responsibility, and we can see multiple crypto organizations which say, hey guys, you can remember a lot of sexes which take all money and disappeared here, so we take a zero responsibility for that. So, but in my perception, at this stage, we are not ready to move everything to AI. Let's keep real humans who understand, but we can automate things and make it faster and understandable. So it's what we try to deliver. We should not replace these risk curators with huge experience, master's degree, and good understanding of things happens. And the second position, that there's some information regarding to market come from the hidden sources. It's another big problem. In AI, we can take everything on-chain. We can analyze maybe Twitter, news, etc. But some very good financial organization has some direct access about what was talked in the conference, what people think, etc. It's not the trackable information anymore, but it has a lot of impact on final decisions. So in this case, I believe it's just a good helper, but not a replacement. Any questions?
No questions? All right.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.